Even folks, welcome back to the Leeds View for tonight's podcast, or this week's early week podcast. Tuesday night feels like a Monday because of what went on yesterday. We are going to digest a little bit of yesterday, but we're also going to try and just pivot a little bit, take the heat out of this just a tad. We've all kind of had our say. Everyone who wants to get it off their chest has gotten it off their chest and had their bits and pieces. There's still a bit of a post-mortem, I suppose, to be done. But what we want to focus on tonight as a transfer window is closed, is look at the entirety of the transfer window. There has been some good business done, so we don't want to completely ignore that either. And have a chat about the state of play and where we are heading into the game, not this weekend, but the following weekend when we come out of the international break, and just see how we've set up. But I just want to say before we get going to everyone who joined me yesterday for the live streams yesterday morning and yesterday evening for the final 2 hours. Thank you very much. We had an incredible number that I haven't seen before on this channel. So I just wanted to say a massive thanks to everyone who did stick it out with us last night for the 2 hours. But we will start off. We've got Jerry McNamee with us today and Paul Brooker from the Leeds Therapy. And we'll check in with the lads first and see how they are. And then what we are going to cover is the entirety of the window, PSR question marks, and then the final bit of the window as well, and see where we are coming out of this. And we'll leave the other comments to the side for now that have been covered in the news today and covered by everybody else on all social platforms. But Jerry, how are you doing, mate? How's things?
Oh, not too bad. What a waste of a day yesterday, really. It's Sky on all day, and I know all about deal sheets and airplanes from Cardiff and everywhere else, and I end up with nothing. I'm watching everybody else have a nice party. As somebody said, it was like a bloke in a nightclub. Not that I go to many nightclubs now. 2 a.m, trying to, as you say in Ireland, shift or have a pull at 5 to 2, and that's the way it felt. And he went home on his own.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, chasing the New Year's Eve midnight kiss at the very last minute. Somebody kiss me. Just somebody give me something.
Yes.
But yeah, it did feel like that by the end of it. Yeah, but the rest of the night appears to have been relatively decent outside of yesterday. But Paul, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm tired. It was very draining yesterday. I took my son swimming about 6:20, and that went on till about 7:30. So I missed all of the fun and frivolities. I've eaten a lot of chocolate. I've consumed a lot of chocolate. I'm going to the gym tonight to make myself feel better about that afterwards. But I'm good. I'm all right. I'm just, like you said, I think everybody, and I said it on my channel, it was, I put it down as a deadline day failure, and I gave a load of quite an impassioned speech, which is unusual for me on my channel. It was not the way that I would normally go, but off with the face of that, it's done phenomenal numbers and gotten me about 100 subscribers. So I'm not going to sit and complain about it. It's great. So in one sense, thanks for the contents, Leeds.
Yeah, they did do that to us at the end, didn't they? People are asking, can we offload players to Rangers? Not at this point. We can't. The transfer window is closed. So that is that. There is still the opportunity for someone like Ilan Melier, who could potentially go to the Saudi Pro League. I believe their window is still open. The Turkish window, I believe, is still open as well. So there are opportunities for players to still move out, and that might be what's happening. And it could be a case that there's a bit of quietness at the moment from the Leeds. We don't know what the silence is about. We don't know if the ownership have decided we're just going to sit this one out and just hope it dies down over the next 2 weeks, or they're behind the scenes working on maybe bringing in a free transfer. Josh Brownhill, there's Mitrovic, there's loads of players. We will talk about that as well. So yeah, and maybe I'm being overly optimistic in that sense, but again, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we'll start off, Jerry. Talk to me about your feeling about the entire transfer window, not just the end of it, because obviously it has fallen flat. But just to give a shout out for the super chat to Pierce. Pierce says the outrage feels a little bit over the top. 100 million spent. If we'd signed Stack, Okafor, and DCL yesterday, everyone would be happy. The team should stay up. I think they'd be happy as long as all the business was done. And it feels like we spent money on substitutes that should have probably gone into making sure we had the starting players ready, and we are still missing something on that right-hand side. And I would say, Pierce, the fact that we've only got 1 goal in 3 Premier League games and none from open play does highlight that fact, and it should be addressed as well. I'm just gonna kick this guy out completely because he's been annoying me for 2 days. Now he's gone. So Jerry, talk to me about the entire window, mate. How do you feel about it?
Well, the window was going well. I even saying before on Twitter, I said to someone, we've signed 7 good players so far. This is when we'd signed 7, and it's and more to come. And I think the 10 we got in are decent. Yeah, I was happy with every signing, and and I can't say anybody that I've seen play so far has been fine, decent. You just thought, right, we've got in early, done the hard work, and let's get the finishing touches in. And everything that was intimated by the owners was we do business late, and we're going to look for the marquee signings and everything else. And nothing happened. And it was the amount of players we were linked with and the amount of players we were picked to, and it was getting more and more frustrating. And right up until the end, as I say, we were flapping around with Harry Wilson. It was a decent player. I would have liked him to come in as well. But 4:00 on transfer deadline day, I expected, from what we were saying on Sunday, we had that guy from Armenia, Eddie Spritz, as I call him now, because I can't remember his name. That would be a difficult one.
Spurtjan.
Yeah, that's him. That's what I meant. And, it was a case of, well, something's going to happen tomorrow. It's Sunday, and we know the Hamer's there, Bundia, there's mention here, there, and everywhere. But as come 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought there's nothing going to happen here. I've seen this before. I've seen this window a few times on transfer deadline day, and we made a mess of it. And the silence, they should just come out and say, listen, yeah, we went for it. We didn't do it. They'll probably get a kicking for that. But, what we got yesterday was a Gruev heat map, and that was it, really. Not a lot you can do with that. And Leeds fans, I know we're an emotional bunch, as Daniel once said, but, we're not stupid either. And we can see that they failed at the end. And yes, Dominic Calvert-Lewin might come out and start scoring and Mecha and everything, but we still need that creativity. And this is transfer deadline day number 8, where we're still trying to get a decent number 10 in. And you look at the players, as you said, just JB's gone to Hull, but have we got any more? Hull have an embargo. How can they spend? So is he going for free? We've not got the money in. There's a lot of players out in loan. Surely we could have capitalised. Melia is still there. Maybe he's going to Turkey. I don't know. But, it just doesn't seem to have been professionally done. And on Sunderland are the marker for everybody. I know they lost a recalled striker who was on loan on Saturday, Sunday. Straight away they got Brian Blobby in, or whatever his name was from Ajax. I just kept Mr. Blobby in my mind when I see that name. And they got someone else in on loan. Now they might maybe they've spent on Dross. I don't know, but at least it's given the fans something that they're at least trying. And I just think that our owners they don't look as flash and slick. I do deals in me sleep, I think was one. And we'd be preparing for this transfer window for 6 months. I tell you what, boys, you need the preparation's been pretty rubbish, and you need to waken up. That's all I can say, and do them properly.
Yeah, I mean, you see, I think Sunderland in the end spent 185 million. They did have far more PSR room than Leeds did, because I think their wage bill was something around 25 million. Leeds' wage bill was close to 90 million. So there was a big gap there in terms of what they could spend and Leeds could spend. But then again, maybe you need to look at maybe moving players on during the summer that may be part of your squad from last year, but may have offers on the table. And again, we'll get into that in a bit more detail. But Paul, for you, 6 months of planning, we did miss out at the end. So it means we didn't plan for every single position correctly, but in its entirety, because there is 10 players that have come in, there has been decent money spent, as people have said. And there's 2 frees in that 100 million as well. So they've kind of tried to raise the floor of the squad. They might not put the roof on it just yet, but there's definitely a foundation, a wall, and a couple of bits and pieces in there right now.
No, I agree. I think the start of the window was very, very good. Yeah, we lost out on a couple of players, Siddiqui, Diarra, that type of stuff. That happens. But there's also, and it was said on Joe Blackburn's stream today by Evie, quite an interesting point, that it doesn't matter how much we love our club or what regard we hold our club in. Players that are coming to Leeds United will not hold our club in the same regard, especially players that are coming over from Europe or mainland Europe. Some of the English players might get it, so your Harry Wilsons, even though that didn't happen. Dominic Calvert-Lewin definitely understands what Leeds United is about. So there's that sort of argument to have. So I think people's expectations, probably because of Pajau, went way, 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 way up. And they were just expecting, things to happen and things to get on. But I'm really happy with the defence. I'm really happy with the midfield in terms of what we've done on that side of things. I am happy with Calvert-Lewin. I think Okafor will come good, but the right-hand side isn't good enough for me. It isn't. You've got Dan James and Brendan Aronson. Dan James isn't on it properly at the moment. Not sure what's wrong. Brendan Aronson you bring him on with 15 minutes to go when you want to shut it down a little bit and have somebody that's going to rush people and close them down. But I can see a world where Nonto moves onto the right-hand side and Okafor's on the left-hand side, and that's how they're going to be playing. I think Nonto's played really well so far, but I would have said we were probably on course for an 8/9 out of 10 had we got some of the players that we have been linked with on top of what we already got. For me, the window probably sits at about, I'm trying to take the emotion out of it, probably a 4. If I'm being unemotional about it, I'd probably say the window sits at a 4. Off of the back of being able to get the defence done, get the midfield done. But the issue is that we've had an owner that came out and said some stuff that he probably shouldn't have said. He probably, when he got interviewed on the microphone against Everton, should have just said, really, really pleased to be in the Prem. We've done a really good job to get here. And it should have been cases of, let's see what we can do. Don't give a rod for your own back. Don't try to be Mr. PR and let it, come back to haunt you a little bit. And because of that, and also as well, because Farke has said, he consistently got sterner with it throughout the weeks. I need some attacking midfielders. We haven't improved the attacking side of things to where I would like it to be. That's I think what's really just put a completely negative slant on it for everybody. A really, really negative slant on it. And the fact that we haven't the club haven't come out and said anything. Haven't come out and listen, look, we're fans of the club, but at the end of the day, they don't need to come out and say anything. It's not a law for them to come out and say something. But as patrons of the club, as people that come and pay money, paying me, what did I pay for that ticket? 60 quid for that ticket to go last weekend, to go and watch the game against Newcastle, and then putting money to buy beer and buy food and all of that kind of stuff. We deserve a little bit of something, but it's one of two things. They're either sitting it out, like you said, Jer, and just let's just sit it out for a little while and let's hope it all dies down. Or, which would be what we'd all love them to do, we get a message tomorrow, Josh Brownhill signed on a 2-year deal, or Hakim Ziyech has signed on a 2-year deal. That's what all of us have said as fans. That would be the thing that you go and do, wouldn't it? That's the thing that you go and do. But the one thing that I will say is that the ceiling of the team has been raised by the players that we brought in. So defensively and also in the midfield area. That's plain. We can compete. We know we can compete. The problem that we've got is the creativity side of it. And that's the most exciting side of it. That's the bit that people get really excited about. And that's the bit that really let everybody down at the back end of the window.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. We will get into that. We do keep drifting back into the back end of the window. I think it's because it's so soon and so raw and so fresh with us that we are doing that. And there is still that hope there that, maybe there is a Brownhill-shaped figure who would give, I suppose, would fix an issue for Leeds. You have a set-piece taker, somebody who can actually put a ball into the box and would move Anton Stack into the 6-yard area for corner kicks rather than having to wait to have a 6'4" man put chip balls in for other players. So, yeah, it's interesting. Jerry, I've kind of labeled it as, on the top of this stream, as a missed opportunity. So I don't want to say it's a complete failure of a Windoe, because I don't believe it is a complete failure. Again, once you've taken the emotion out of it. If you look at the players that have come in, Anton Stack has come in. He's been very good for us so far. Sean Longstaff in his full debut, looked really, really good. Gabby Goodmunson has looked really, really good at left back and exciting. And Lucas Perry maybe has taken a bit more time to get used to the league, but 2 clean sheets under his belt in 3 Premier League games. Again, considering Ipswich got 2 in the entirety of last season, and Leicester got 3 in the entirety of last season. And already he has 2 behind him as a goalkeeper. There's also obviously the question marks around his footwork, but just being very honest, I would much rather he focused on stopping the ball going in the back of the net than doing anything with his feet. I don't need him to be a build-up player or a sweeper. I need him to stop the ball going in. And that's fine. But for you, of those players that have already come in, like, who's really stood out to you as being, that's a good player and that helps us this season?
Well, Longstaff, that was his first game on Saturday. He was brilliant, outstanding. Stack has looked good. I think there's more to come from him. Goodmanson, definitely. As you say, Perry, well, yeah, I think he'll be okay. We've not seen Bijol yet, and he was going to come straight in the team. And fair play to Pascal, he's probably kept him out. I'm looking at it. If you're looking at it, where we started the season, 4 points out of 3, two clean sheets at home and a win and a draw, and we're in 12th, 13th place.
Yeah,
I'm pleased with that so far, and I'm not knocking the players that come in. I think what we've brought in is good, but as we said, that creativity, and I suppose the Newcastle game, not scoring against Newcastle is no big deal, because they're defensively they're very strong. But when last time we were up, we were conceding 3 and 4 to teams like that at home. So we got to build from the back. So I'm not panicking so much, because a lot of the stuff last night on social media, we're going down, that's it, and tearing up my season tickets, except I can't because it's on my phone. All that sort
throw
of
it at
stuff.
the wall.
Yeah, throw your phone to the manager. All that's. I mean, yeah, I understand people get emotional, but I was sort of thinking, on the pitch, we look okay. We could have done a bit more. And it was disappointing. I thought we would get 2 or 3 more in, and we did on Sunday. And I think that the tail end of that is just taking the shine off it. And now we've got, if we had a midweek game now or something and won that, then it sort of takes the shine off. But then it'll be interesting what Daniel Farke does say, because these questions will wait for him. And in a funny sort of way, Farke's position is stronger with the fans than it was before, because there's a lot of sympathy for Farke, because it's well known that he didn't get backed by Norwich, and I think the narrative now is he's not been fully backed when he said he wanted these players. So it gives the fans a chance to get behind him, because there's been a few negative things, and after last week, Arsenal and Sheffield Wednesday, yes. After this week, it was he was getting a bit of stick. So I think we get behind him, and we've got to look. I'm looking at these games in 3-match chunks, and we get another 4 points from the next 3, and we will get goals. Calvert-Lewin, I think, looked sharp enough.
Yeah.
I think Tanaka and Ampadu, we get him back, it gives us more options. But we did need this extra, and that's just the downside. Oh, and by the way, Leeds are beating Port Vale 1-0 in the thingy.
The right things.
Hopefully that is, yeah. There doesn't be anybody there. It's only down the road from me. I should have went, really.
Should have, yeah. Instead of hanging around here talking with us, Jerry, you should have gone down to that.
Yeah. I got things. The only thing that moved here yesterday was furniture. There was no transfers. but so yeah, I'm being zen about it now. Get the annoyance. Oh yeah, he just scored. Yeah, never mind. 1-1. Thanks. Sorry.
Good job you stayed here, Jerry.
Yeah, the Lord with one hand and he taketh away with the other.
Yeah. I mean, we're only kids. How can kids beat a growing-up team? Oh yeah, well, forgot about that last week. But no, I'm zen about it. Disappointed, but yeah, we got to push on now, and let's see what's out there free agent wise. That free agent doesn't mean they're on the scrap heap. Free agent is guys out of contract, or guys that have moved on, like Patrick and the like. Yeah, sign Patrick, because Newcastle tried to sign Callum Thingy back from West Ham, didn't they? But I'm not saying
Wilson.
Yeah, Callum Wilson. Yeah. But yeah, it's we are where we are, and we're disappointed. But we've got to move on. Let's stay calm now, and let's Fulham next. And if we can get a draw down there, then this continues, and we just need to start scoring, and that's the hard part, where we're going to score. But you're right when you say, I think Willie will be into this more Okafor once we get him fit. So Jack Harrison's good backup coming on, and that's what we've got. And the 49ers, they've got a bit of egg on the face. They've got to say something. They got to talk about it, because the questions are going to be there. And if he should just come out and say, we made a mess of it. I'm sorry, we tried our best and we just didn't get it right. I don't think most fans go, okay, you're an idiot, but okay, you put your hands up, but they won't.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we've talked an awful lot before about previous ownerships, and even when they've got it wrong, there has been posts that have come out. I mean, The issue that the 49ers probably have now, Paul, versus what the previous owners have had is there's now a moment and there is social media content captured in time that will be regurgitated every time a mistake is made going forward. Like we saw the Phil Hay tweet reemerge yesterday of the fans are chasing Massimo around the ground. We had a podcast that's been named Don't Go to Bed Just Yet. There's been Ross McCormack going on Sky Sports and trying to sell himself to any football club who would take him. So we've had these moments with previous owners before. I think we all thought those days were probably behind us a little bit. And it is their first proper Premier League window. And maybe it was a naivety to put an inexperienced head of recruitment in for this window. But again, I still want to say, if you look at the other deals that we've done, I think Anton Stack's been a fantastic signing for Leeds United. I really do think he is. I think Okafor will give us something this year. How much? I think he's better than what we probably had. And Sean Longstaff and Gabby Goodmanson. But Paul, it's probably safe to say that what we've got right now, and this is going to have to be the way it is we've got a workman-like team. And it possibly suits Daniel Farke to a degree without missing that sprinkle at the end of it. But it gives them a workman-like team that will run all day and will work hard, and they're the kind of players we've got. So it's going to be a case of grinding out results at times. Yeah,
we've seen that already in the first few games. We that's something that's very, very obvious, that it's going to be a case of everybody's going to have to know the position, know the job, and do what needs to be done. And it's going to have to be a case of not backs to the wall, but controlling a game like we have been able to do recently, or that we've seen where we controlled against Newcastle in terms of keeping the shape and making sure everybody did the right things. We limited Newcastle to shots and shots on target, all of that kind of stuff. We did exactly the same to Everton. Forget about the Arsenal game. That's an outlier. You know, that's the way that we've got to play. And the thing is if there's one thing that Leeds United as a whole are very, very good at doing, it's that siege mentality. It's that mentality of everybody's against us and we don't really care, but we're going to all band together. I said to you on the message, I think I said it to you on the message the other night, Farke is now in an extremely strong position.
Oh, God, yeah.
Really, really, really strong position. He could walk if he wanted to. And, I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen, but I'm just saying, and nobody would think anything bad of it. But if he gets sacked, that just immediately looks bad on the owners because of that. So he's in an absolutely perfect position. We just need, what the team need to do is they just need to give us what they gave us against Newcastle, which is 110%. I know everybody says that, is 110% in every game that they play. I want to see the silly memes from Stack before a game, or with his maracas on and everything after the game's finished and all of that kind of stuff. I want to see Okafor and his buddies in the gym sweating it out, but putting it out there on social media, showing that they're working and they're trying really, really hard. I want to see Gabby nutmegging people on the pitch like he has been doing already. He's probably been my favourite signing of the summer. I've ebbed and flowed a little bit, but him in particular has been brilliant to watch in terms of the way that he plays and what he does. And what's done is done. We can't change that now.
No.
We have to do our part. Like we did, the game against Newcastle was fantastic. The atmosphere, fantastic. You could see the players visibly working towards that atmosphere. And there's no reason why we can't keep doing that the entire season. It's what we're good at. It's what we're known for. And that's effectively what we just have to keep doing. We know what it is. I'm with Jerry on this. You focus on games in like 3 or 4 game sets and set yourself a points target and go for it. It's that simple.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, you can't. That's what we said today. I mean, the news this morning, there's been a mixed reaction. There's days I put content out and some people will say, Jerry, you're giving the owners too much credit and you're a bit of a happy clapper. And then there's days I'll put content out like today where I decided to actually do a full proper review of the window because it's closed. And you don't do a match review at 75 minutes into a game. You wait until the game is finished to do a proper review of it and look at it its entirety. So today I decided to give my opinion on stuff. And some people have said I'm being too harsh on the owners and I'm being too harsh on the club and I maybe have stepped across a line a little bit. I don't think I have.
No.
But that's the situation. The fan base looks at it from very different perspectives. Some are willing to give people a chance. Some want it now. And I've always said this fans are entitled to express their frustration and their opinions in any way they want to. For me, as long as you don't cross the line and get insulted or that, it's absolutely fine. There's no problem. But you can see that with the fan base. And what's already started to happen in the last couple of hours is the PSR conversation has now started to pop its little head up. And I think we predicted yesterday, Paul, that a lot of us would actually give this time when PSR is going to get rolled out, go get the corner flag picture, lads. This is going to happen. So what I've looked at is the purchase that Leeds have made so far, plus what they rumored, and I'm only going off the data that I can find. So basically, Leeds were rumored to have 105 million of a PSR budget that they could spend. And that was before Leeds brought in the additional 120 million pounds of reinvestment at the start of the season. Now, half of that was to go to the stadium and half of that was to go in to the transfer budget. Obviously, not all of that money is available spending money for transfers because some of it has to be assigned to wages and they're quite expensive. But working out what Leeds have spent so far, if you go through Anton Stack, now I'm converting euro prices to sterling because I'm using transfer market data and they've given it in euro. So I've tried to convert them as best we can. So it'll be slightly off by a couple of $100,000. So Anton Stack, 17.3 million. Noah Okafor, 16.5 million. Yakubov, 15.6 million. Lucas Perry, 13.9 million. Sean Longstaff, 12 million. Gabby Goodmunson, 10.9 million. James Justin, 8 million, which will raise to 10 depending on add-ons. And Sebastian Bornau, 5.2 million. DCL, Lucas Mecha, free transfer. So total spend in terms of outgoing money is 99.4 million. If you take the incoming 6 million from Rasmus Christensen, that's euros. Sam Greenwood, £3 million. Darko JB, we don't know yet, but there's Kyle Newbold has a piece out saying how Leeds could make a PSR profit on this in some way. But I think you're going to need to see where the money is coming from that sale towards the end of Hull City's transfer embargo and what's going on there. But if you take all that in, convert it into pounds, 7.8 million pounds, which means Leeds' net spend this summer is 91.75 million, which means there's still a couple of quid floating around there. However, Jerry, we have seen in the past 2 seasons from Premier League clubs with the transfer window and with PSR tightening that sometimes they will sell a big player or a player that is part of their squad and their plans in order to rebalance the squad in a different area. Now, Leeds right now, if you look at the offers that were on the table for players, Joe Pirro and Ilya Gruev had offers. Now, at the moment, you probably can't argue with hanging on to Gruev because of the injuries to the 2 midfielders. But if you look at the striking position, Mecha, DCL, Harry Gray, and Noah Okafor can also play as a 9, has done for AC Milan, but not why he was coming to Leeds. But there's 4. Then Joe Pirro. You could have taken a sale for Joe Pirro, taken whatever money you got from that, assigned that to whatever was remaining in your transfer kitty, and then invested that into the right-sided player that you needed for the side. Yeah. Now, would you have done that, or is it a case that you would have probably said, no, Joe Pirro is probably an important part of this squad? And that's just Joe Pirro as an example. Yeah. So you could have sold anybody.
As a pure financial transaction and maths and just counting, it would make sense. I mean, Joe Pirro, I thought he played well first game, but you see some of the more physical games like Saturday, and he's not going to play a massive part this season. He's going to be a sub probably mostly. And yeah, you get players out like that and get the money in. And then you look at some of the loans and think, could they have turned into full transfers? Is it a profit thing? Is it easier getting them out on loan? I don't know. Matteo Joseph, would he have been pure profit to get a transfer fee in for him? So it's football is very transient and players move all the time. And I hate to see players go that I like and who've done well for us, but that's football. I always look back on teams that played maybe 2 or 3 years ago and you count the squad and maybe there's 7 or 8 of them left, and that's how quickly the turnover is. And if it meant getting a number 10 or a more creative player or a bigger number 9, then yeah, we should have made those calls. And do you ask the questions about our recruitment team, or is it our finance team, or who's making these decisions? Because our recruitment team Underwood's getting loads of stick. He's not. He's new to this, so how big is his notebook? And it's questions like that are being asked. But if we can see it, surely these guys at the top can see it. And how hard is it to move players around? Joel Peru's as good as anybody who was being sold yesterday or being moved on. So why couldn't we do those deals and get it done? It just all the windows ever been involved. I've never felt that we're ahead of the game. You're always scratching around, and deadline day is always a disappointment. You're talking about don't go to bed. Matt Smith, the aeroplanes and
Napoleon.
tarmac, which all these things, and it seems to be a recurring nightmare. Yeah, every time. I just want to sit there. I remember Forest a couple of years ago were signed about 6 players in the last 10. I was so jealous. That'd be such fun. And I know maybe not great for his squad, but it'd have been such fun to do. So yeah, we didn't seem very savvy, and if there's players we could have got some money in for, then that should have been done. And sentiments out of it.
Yeah, Paul, before I get to you, just want to, Jeffrey's just clarifying, Joel Pirro is the only striker without injury concerns. Why would you sell him? I'm not saying sell Joel Pirro. I'm just basically saying that you could sell a player from a position on the park where you've got plenty of options in order to balance out a position where you don't have lots of options. So again, you could look at the midfield as well. Stack, Longstaff, Tanaka, Ampadu, Gruev. Yes, 2 of them are injured, but you've got lots of them. We've also got 4 goalkeepers. So, we've got 4 goalkeepers, 110, and 1 out-and-out right winger. So that's what I'm trying to say is you could try and sell from one area and might be a player that you actually need, but in order to balance the squad and bring a player in a more important area, so you've got those options, a more rounded squad rather than a top-heavy squad, but known to create chances for the strikers. That's the point I'm making as well. And No Smoke Without Fire says, I am happy with what we have so far, and I am as well. And that should be the point I think we all need to make here. I am very happy with what we've brought in. I think they've done really good business to get what they did get in, but it didn't finish it. And that's what's missing. And the missing bit could be the bit that cost you. And that could be either end of the park. If we'd started with the creative players and striker and didn't get a goalkeeper and centre back and full back, then that's the area of the park that comes back to haunt you come the end of the season. And the whole point of that is you're looking to round off a full squad, and it's not quite rounded off just yet. But Paul, on the selling to buy, Gruev has been a conversation as well. Yep. There are players in there that have been sitting on the bench, not doing an awful lot, and maybe you sacrifice one to get a different player
in. Villa did it with Ramsey to Newcastle. That freed up 40 million for them, PSR profit at the same time as well, which then meant Newcastle could go around and get the players that they got in. It does make sense. You've got to kind of speculate to accumulate a little bit, and I think potentially we were maybe a little bit too focused on getting certain players out rather than looking at the bigger picture and looking at what would have helped to move stuff along a little bit. It's no surprise that when there was 3 players that went out the door in the same day or something, and then all of a sudden the links started coming back in again, and there was bits and pieces of information about players again. So I think it's something that could have been done, and it could have been a Gruev, it could have been a Pirro. Listen, I love Pirro. I love everything about him. I love his nonchalance. I love how deadly he is when he's got time on the ball to do what he needs to do. But a 4-3-3 system doesn't suit him because he's not a number 9. The system, although it worked really well for him last season, again, doesn't suit him because it's the Prem. It's not Championship. So again, it's different. I mean, he wants to stay here. He wants to fight for his place. He wants to challenge himself. So I'm all for that. I've got no issues with that whatsoever at all. But yeah, you feel like something was kind of missed off on what it is. I mean, you got people saying, well, is it because Parag was focused on Rangers? I think it's important to note the investment group is different to the investment group for Leeds United. So it's 2 completely separate entities. So don't think about it in that kind of way.
Also, that gives them an out as well to say, well, we've 2 clubs, we had to split money. That not being the case means that they're fully responsible for what's happened here.
Yeah, I mean, and look, this is the other thing. I don't know what people are going to expect. Somebody's mentioned it in the comments about Liverpool spending 125 million on one player. Liverpool has spent nearly £500 million in this transfer window alone. Chelsea have managed to sell 382 million euros worth of players in this transfer window. Back in order. It's where we sit in the table. We should have been maybe a little bit more savvy, and we should have looked to move a couple of players on, definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a back and forth with Jeffrey, but I do want to give him the opportunity to come back on his earlier point. Can't say Joel Pirro is not good enough at this point, 3 games in. I don't think anybody is saying Joel Pirro is not good enough. I quite like Joel Pirro. Paul's already said he's a fan of his as well. And you're dead right though, Jeffrey, and that's the key point is if you don't get the ball to him, he's not going to score goals. Correct. And that's the same for DCL and Mecha. And currently, if you look at the Newcastle game, Piru's number 3. But that goes for all of them. And the point, again, that we're making is maybe you have to sell an asset somewhere in your side to get the player in who will create those chances for what you've got left. And it's only hypothetical. I'm just throwing it out there as a conversation starter more than anything else. They're just going, again, you've seen what other clubs have done. Newcastle let Ramsey go and they go off and they bring in Jadon Sancho and 2 other players on deadline day to rebalance that entire squad rather than have one player in one position. They've gone, right, we don't want to sell him. Again, my brother's a Villa fan, does not want to see Ramsey leave, but understands that they're under their PSR is crazy because their PSR problems are all wage related and not transfer fee related. But they've been in Europe for 3 years and they can't buy players. Like that's crazy. I mean, PSR is wrong. It's broken. It doesn't work. It only keeps the status quo as it is. It keeps the big boys where they are and it penalizes everybody else. And we're all working with at least one hand tied behind their backs. No one is saying anything different than that. That is the facts. But just given where you were, Jerry, in 6 months worth of planning, we were told they're planning for this window since December. You would imagine then that you've planned for every single one of the positions that you need to reinforce. And again, we go back to the Paixão and Muniz money. That was for special players. That's fine. Absolutely for special players. But when you get to the end of the window and you're missing 2 important positions, a creative right winger and a creative number 10, which Daniel Farke is now waiting 3 seasons for, that money should then become a contingency fund, shouldn't it?
Yeah. No, well, you're right. It's been 6 months. Everything we've said so far, you part of the plan, get a keeper in, build up your defence, get more into the midfield, bit more solid midfield, and players to move out. Yeah, players, what value they got? How's that going to balance the books? If you run the business, this is the sort of stuff that you do, regardless of what element it is, and that is why we the 49ers, we see them as savvy, and they're putting the money into the club as far as the ground and everything's concerned. We feel a bit safe, and it was a nice feeling to think these guys, they're going to go for it because they're not coming to go back to the championship, and their outlook or what they've done, what they've achieved, and the people they've appointed. It looks a wee bit championshipy, and that's what's annoying the fans. But we gotta see what we've got at the moment, how that pans out till January. Because January again, this is all going to come up again. But January isn't always the best window, and it's a panic window and overpriced players. The planning should have been better. And we're losing 2-1 to Port Vale, by the way. So it's all going wrong. No, the planning should have been better. Stick Johnny Howson and give Johnny a number. I want to see Johnny play. He's creative, but they need to be more professional outlook. And for the likes of us, we think these guys know what they're doing, and the fun a wee bit short. If I was in business with them, I'd be thinking that's not very good, do I? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not impressed. You need to do better.
Yeah, you asked us for more money at the start of the season, and we gave you more money, and you didn't finish the job. And that's the piece. And it goes again back to that 6 months worth of planning, and you were very confident all summer of bringing in a Muniz who's going to cost 40 million quid. Come the end of the window, you've got 2 free strikers, and you're desperately missing someone who's going to create stuff. Paul, before I come to you, and before we start to wrap up, just a couple of super chats and bits I want to run through. Pierre said the outrage feels a little over top. Said that at the start, 100 million spent that we signed Stack for DCL yesterday. Everyone be happy. I'm happy with the business that we have done. I would have liked us to finish off the Pi new member to the channel, Sandra LaPaul, welcome to the channel. Anto St. Jer, is there any way investing in a yo-yo club pays more out at the end? Conspiracy? No, not at all. In fact, if this doesn't go to plan, they lose an awful lot of money. So it's there. This was an interesting point as well. Yeah. Paul, actually, I'll ask you this before I'll come back to you with this, but I'll get through this one first. But Gilavogi had sway more than Underwoods did. And if you look at Borneo and you look at Mecha, both of them commented on the fact that Gilavogi spent time on the phone with them. A parade video has been used to try and entice other players. Lucas Perry had to get on the phone to try and talk to Paixão to try and convince him to come into the club. And we've had other players talk to other players. I mean, even seeing Harry Wilson being linked yesterday, was a conversation there saying the Welsh lads were probably in his ear. The club are relying probably too much on ex-players and current players to bring bodies in the door or convince them. And it's not the attracting of a player. It's not the paying of a player. It's getting that over the line. And it seems to be that the club have had to use other people and other methods to try and convince these players to come.
Yeah, don't hate me for this, people in the chat, but that's probably one of the things that a certain Mr. Orta was very, very good at when it came to talking to players. I mean, obviously, he offered the ridiculous deals that we're still paying for now, but Nick Hammond was the guy that recommended Underwood to be promoted to where to the position that he's in now. He's obviously got experience, but for me, he doesn't have enough experience, or it looks like the optics, as we like to say, look like they don't have a lot of Paul Nels probably experience,
swagger to get it over the line,
to try and get something over the line, having to rely on, and that's not Underwood's fault. It isn't. It's down to the recruitment team at the end of the day, that or the people that have put him in that position. So the CAOs and everybody else that's above that put them in that position. So and again, I know we're paying for it now with the Orta stuff, but Orta could manage to get deals over the line. The Rafinha thing, the Jorginho thing, the Marcelo Bielsa thing, and Kinnear as well to a certain degree. I mean, the funny thing is that if you actually look at the business that Everton have managed to do, talking about other clubs, so the players that Everton have managed to bring in, Nick Hammond at the same time as well. So it's that. Was it maybe that he needed somebody, he probably could have done with somebody with a bit of experience to sort of mentor him a little bit through this process? I mean, we'll never know. We're speculating. So that kind of, that experience, that nous, that salesman, that kind of wide boy, and basically swinging your penis about the place to make yourself look absolutely amazing. Not that don't do that, people, you get arrested.
Again.
I will not show you my elephant trick, no matter how much you ask. It's not happening. Not tonight, anyways. So yes. So I've really lost my train of thought. So it's
You're swinging your no.
It's that experience that I don't think we have, that we probably haven't got, and just the nonsense about Farke not being a pull as well. Forget that side of things. It's the project and it's the selling of the project, which I think is something that we've struggled with. Not at the start, but at the back end of the window for these more highly strung players, shall we say.
Yeah, the ones that need the convincing, and that wasn't there. Jerry, I'll come to you just to wrap it up in a second, just to fight your last few comments. Glenn saying, Jared, do you think Farke will walk away? I don't, but he's got a very strong hand now. And if they were to try and sack him after a couple of bad results, he's got a very easy thing to go back and say, well, I didn't get what was needed. I'm on the record of saying what was needed. The club was on the record of saying they would try everything and we didn't get it done. So he has that in his back pocket. Chronicle saying ITK is saying that we will sell big names by next June. Well, that could be the case, but we'll have to wait until next June to see that. Ben is saying, for your hard work during the transfer window, I knew it was bad yesterday when Jared Meister was fuming. I was livid yesterday. Thanks for that, mate. I really appreciate it. Jeffrey, Joe Peru. Oh, sorry, we already covered Jeffrey's one, but yeah, it was a valid point. And yeah, this was an interesting one. Comes in from Pierce. Does this show how important Nick Hammond was? I think the issue for Leeds, Jerry, and I'll go through the list of names for you now in a sec, but I don't think the issue for Leeds was identifying targets, which ultimately was Nick Hammond's job, was to find the targets and get the initial work done as a consultant to the club. And then the club would step in. You've got Greta Steinson involved with the 49ers as well, who was experienced from his time at Spurs and recruitment as well. So I don't think it was a case of not being able to attract the players. The issue seems to be getting them over the line or getting the final fee. And I don't believe for a second we should be overpaying for players, and that's not the point that I'm trying to make. But when you go through this list, and there's a line that was used today, somebody put this in the comments today. If you're watching this live, thanks very much, because it's a really valid point. Of the players linked with Leeds, and these are the players that Leeds commented on. And what I mean by that is these were the ones where Joe Donoghue or Graham Smith or Barron or one of the journalists that cover Leeds came out and made a comment about, which meant that there's possibly some smoke in there. The rest of the links that came out this summer, nothing was said about from the club. So Diarra, Siddiqui, Pajau, Munez, Kristovic, Buenanotte, Bakwe, Spurtian, Demirovic, Gonzalez, Buendia, Hamer, El Canus. So all of these players and the information that has come out via the local media, so the club speaking to the media. So when they come out and say, We believe, sources close to us believe that the Leeds didn't make a move or there was no loan offer for Buendia. That's information being given to them through sources at the club. The line that keeps coming out with all of these is, we didn't speak to them. We didn't put an offer in for that player. And I think at the end of the window, when your business is done and you look back on the whole thing as a whole project, and you look at it, you say, well, if you weren't speaking to them, who were you speaking to? Because all of them would have done a job. Buonanotte obviously got off, didn't get on the plane. Sperchan was there to be done, is expected to go. The marriage, got tricky towards the end of the window because they sold the other striker to Stuttgart. You could have moved earlier on that. Back with 22 million quid, again, depending on timings of that. And then the money was there for Paixão and Muniz. They said that they didn't put a loan request in for Emi Buendia. Sky Sports said that they did. Gus Hamer, Jerry, they said they'd never, wasn't on the list, didn't inquire about him, but everybody else says that they did. And there was significant interest right up until the last couple of minutes last night. And obviously, El Canus we inquired about, but nothing more than that. So that's the issue. These were all identified as players, but we never actually got them over the line.
Yeah. No, well, the journalists you mentioned, I mean, they're the ones that your ears prick up when you see them, Graham Smith or Adam Pope or Bren or any of those, Joe Donoghue. They're the ones you think, they're not the in the nose with 14 followers. And you listen to those, they're no smoke without fire. And there's always this, they do their business really quiet and we don't hear till the deal's done. I've not really seen that happen. I know a couple of these guys might have come out of the water. We had good indication that there was these players were coming in. So it sounds a bit churlish when they're saying we didn't speak to them. No, we never knew. I mean, I have a good contact at Sheffield United, and I think, as I mentioned to you on Saturday, they said it looks like they're going to. That's get rid of me. It looks like they're going. Leeds are going after him, and because Leeds are the place he's going to go, and that was. I thought, oh, that's okay. That's a good rumor. So they're handling it really badly. How they're talking about these things. You know, there's nothing wrong to say that you've spoken to the players. There's not. No. You're not loose faced with that. But if you're saying you're not spoke to any of them, I think, well, why are we linked to them, and why are we linked to them so strongly? Why is our goalkeeper talking to Paxa? You know, if we haven't spoken to him, you know, why is Gilavogi talking to other players we haven't spoken to? It just doesn't. It seems a bit amateur hour to me, and that's the disappointment. You know, just talk to players. I don't care if it's in the media. I don't care if those gobs on a stick on Sky Sports are talking about it and filling all those hours in. You know, Ronan Kemp. What was Ronan Kemp on transfer deadline? That's meant to mention that last
Ryan
night.
Kent.
No, Ronan Kemp. You know, from
Kemp. Sorry.
Kemp. Yeah, no, Ryan
Kemp.
Ballet.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a story about Spandau Ballet. But anyway, that's an aside. We should be more professional about all this. The club, and you know. They should have done the business in the end, or at least told us what our limits were, or what we needed to do, or need to tell us. Come out and say, "Listen, lads, we were up against the figures. If we go over, we're looking at points deduction, and we didn't want to do that." Like, okay, fair enough, because overpaying for players. Who knows? Sunderland may have overpaid for a lot of dross. We don't know yet after 3 games, so it may look.
They might get away with it.
We might. We might have done the best transfer window ever. Who knows? I'm missing a couple of players. Someone mentions Harry Gray. Maybe Harry Gray gets a step up the queue, and more games. But must do better, as I used to say in my school report. Stop messing in class. Yeah. Must do better, and that's. I think that's the final report on the club. And knuckle down and
push
communicate.
Through. Yeah, talk to the fans, communicate with the fans, because there isn't enough of that. You know, there isn't. Before I ask Paul about free transfers, because Paul's done a bit of digging on lists of names, and then we're going to wrap it up after that. I wanted to point out that today in the news, I said that there was no social media announcement about Darko JB leaving the club, and a couple of people have said, well, the club did announce it. I think the issue for me is the club decided to announce it on the website and on their app where there's no commenting. So they've decided to avoid the comment section completely and avoid, again, that interaction with the fan base. to give the fans a chance to say thanks, Darko, and all the best to you on your next move. So there's nothing there on social media around that, and I think there does need to be a better line of communication between the club and the fan base. Working in silence is fine when it pays off, but when it doesn't pay off, then those questions will always be asked around what actually happened. So I'm sure we'll get into an inquest. We are going to park all of this after today's stream. We're going to go back to normal stuff from tomorrow morning. Unless news pops up around this, then we'll cover it. But we'll, again, as I say, we'll take the heat out of it at this point and we'll start pointing ourselves forward. But Paul, Leeds have an opportunity still before they come back in 2 weeks' time. The free market is open. Daniel Farke doesn't like the free market because he has always said, if you use the free market, it means you didn't get your business done. We know they didn't get their business done. Do they now use the free market and who's available?
Yeah, well, no, of course. Yeah, they have to. For me, they have to. They just have to. It's when you look at the things that are out there in terms of the potentials that could happen. You know, stadium redevelopment, survival in the Premier League. You know, all of that kind of stuff. It's something that we need to look at. There's no shame in looking at the free market. The glaring one straight away is Josh Brownhill.
Yeah.
Just go and get him. He wants, and everybody's going, yeah, but he wants 100 grand a week. That's too much money. But he's a free agent. So he can command a little bit of a higher fee for a salary. That's absolutely fine because we're not having to pay. His market value is 14 million quid. So you're not having to pay 14 million quid for him straight away. You've got, Dele Alli's out there as well, but Dele Alli's a little bit, I don't think his head's in it anymore, is it? So I
don't think he'd survive our fan base, if I'm being honest. A lot of pressure comes with that shirt. I don't think he needs that in his life.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got, there's Oscar Rodriguez, Rifat Zemaletdinov, if I pronounce that right. You know, these are all players that are 27, 28 that have probably got a little bit to potentially prove that we could go and have a look at and go and see. You've got, if you want to go for players that are a little bit older than that, so to give you that experience that you want, somebody's put it down in, Kershaw's put it down in the list. Ericsson's out there. Yes, he's 33 years old, but
it's the Christmas.
He would bring the experience straight away, that calming presence for everybody. You've also got Hakeem Ziyech as well, who you could bring in as well. Willian's on a free. I didn't realise Willian was on a free at the same time as well. Willian's there that could do something on the right-hand side or the left-hand side for us. There are options out there that we could go and look at, and it could go a long way to us, or to the club, I should say, not us. I'm using the royal us, but it could go a long way to the club saving a little bit of face if they come up with a Brownhill and a Willian, or a Brownhill and a Ziyech at the same time as well. That could potentially work quite well. And then they could then come up with the story. Well, PSR had done X, Y, and Z, and you go, well, look, I think you're talking a load of crap, but I'll take it on this occasion because we've managed to do this. But yes, we shouldn't be in this situation straight away, but there are options out there. 100%, there are options out there. There's Iheanacho's available as well, 28 years old.
I think Celtic gone after him.
Yeah, but
he didn't look good at Middlesbrough last year. He looked totally out of condition. Is Mitrovic, as somebody's mentioned,
he's a free transfer. What's interesting about Mitrovic is people will say, well, he's been in Saudi, so he's going to look for huge money. But they actually bought out his entire contract, which means they've paid him in full with generational wealth. So he has that money in his back pocket now. So it might be a case of, I don't need the money now, half decent salary here, and I get to play in the Premier League again. But there is talk that Fulham might have a conversation with him in the next couple of days as well. So, but they're there. The point is, I suppose, that we're making, we shouldn't be in this situation, but we are. And there is still stuff that could be done that will at least, if nothing more, Jerry, take the heat off a little bit. You bring a Josh Brownhill in, probably not your first, second, third choice. Did okay in the Premier League the last time he was there. He nearly outscored our striker last year. He had the second most GNA in the Championship, is a set-piece taker, was a captain and arguably Burnley's best player. They put a huge offer on the table to keep him this season, and he decided to explore other opportunities. And 2 months ago, he said, I'd be very interested in Leeds United. I like the project they're doing. So, I mean, that's right there. Now, it could be a case of the manager saying, don't want him, but he brings leadership as well because he has been a captain for that side. And for me, his work rate is something that we should be looking at as well from a player that can play in that position. I mean, look at his run at the end of the season. And when Burnley and us were going for that title, he was the one banging the goals in the last minute and getting up the field for them. So you're getting that kind of a player. And I think if it is 100 grand a week, well, you're going to put maybe 7-8 million on the table for Wilson. That 7-8 million now becomes wages.
Yeah.
And again, with the other players, it might just be till Christmas. It might just be we'll sign on a short-term deal till January. Then that window opens and we can go and try again and get somebody that we actually want. But don't leave yourself short. You've still got one vacancy in that squad that could be filled.
Yeah. If we signed a Josh Brownhill yesterday for 10 million, we'd have been happy, wouldn't we?
It would have been,
I do like the sound of Mitrovic. Somebody said Calvin's a free agent now as well. I'm not saying
not anymore.
Calvin
No, it looked like his contract was going to be cancelled late last night, but he hasn't been cancelled. But he's not on their squad. He's not registered, and he's not
he
playing
wasn't
now.
mentioned anywhere. But anyway, that's an aside. No, those players you mentioned, I would consider any of those. Eriksson, especially, just he's been through it, but he's one of those players that can a creative player. So you would take any of those experienced Premier League players. That's we're not. It's not as if we need 20 players in. We need the final touches, and a couple of players like that. Someone come in and a new challenge, a short-term challenge in a place like Leeds. Yeah, fancy that, and that'd be great. Mitrovic come in, he'd love that. The sort of player we'd love. We hate him when he played against, but we love him. So I think you would hope that they're going to look at that and see can we bring someone of that caliber in, because these players, just because they're out of contracts, to say doesn't mean that they're bad players. They're just out of contract and got good agents to get them a good deal. So let's see what's happened. But at least that gives us something to trawl through the social media to give, waking up in the morning, oh, we've got a player. That's good, as we do.
Well, I'll depress everybody. Thanks very much to Luke for sending this over to me. You can write Josh Brownhill off your list, because the Al Shabab have reached a final agreement with the midfielder Josh Brownhill, 29, a free agent at the end of his contract with Burnley from England. The contract will be valid for 2 seasons, pending only the approval of the SPL Financial Sustainability Committee. Brownhill was the second top scorer in the Championship in England's second division with 18 goals last season. So Josh Brownhill isn't even there anymore.
As I said, I think he was rubbish and he'd be a bad signing.
Terrible.
Glad I said that now.
Even look at him. What are we looking at him for? Yeah. Again, the point I think is that these were there. And that is the point. Like, there were, again, they can't come out and say there was no targets or we couldn't get people across the line. It was there. Yeah. It was there. Put your hand up and say we got it wrong. We move forward. We get on with it, and we'll see what happens in January. But work to be done.
Oxlade-Chamberlain's available as well.
No, thank you very much. But yeah,
injury
I'm just going to throw names at you that you can just say no to me.
All of them. No, there you go. Right, folks, we're going to wrap up there because we're about to hit the hour mark. Paul, anything going on at your channel this week?
Just the normal stuff. If you want to see a usually quite emotionally level-headed person losing his crap, then please go and watch my last video that I put up on my channel. I'll be coming on. I normally come on every other day and have a little bit of like news and info and stuff and bits and pieces and stuff like that. So with the international break, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, appreciate the love and support that everybody's done particularly on my videos recently. So good fun.
Yeah.
Jerry, you're over on Twitter. What are you up to this week after the Ireland game?
Yeah, off the Ireland game, we did Talking Leeds pod, which was pretty much similar and fraught this week. But yeah, off to Dublin to see us against Hungary and then watch us against Armenia. And Armenia, I'm not going to Armenia. And hopefully we're off 6 out of 6 points. And it's exciting young players coming through for Ireland. Yes. Yeah, Lawal at Stoke is someone we need to look at. He is a talent, I think. And
talking today about it.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that and getting home to the madness that is Ireland.
I look forward to seeing it. I'm trying to get the game myself, so hopefully I get a chance to see it again. Folks, just before we wrap up, I just want to point out Nigel Miller is saying, Jesus, his Rangers are drain on Leeds. If you have a look around 49ers NFL content creators, Rangers fans and Leeds fans, there is something in common. Every single one of them are upset right now with their ownership. Every single group. Yeah. The 49ers NFL fans think that they're funding Leeds United. Leeds United fans think we're funding Rangers, and Rangers don't know who's funding anybody, and they're fluffing around in the dark trying to get targets done as well. I think they spent 20 million in the window, which is a disaster for them as well. So not a good week if you're a 49ers upper person. So we'll wrap it up there, folks. We'll move on tomorrow from this. We'll get back to normal news in the morning. We'll have Loan Watch to catch up on how well the loanees have all done in the last 7 days, and we'll get you some updates on the club as well coming out of the under 21s and the 18s as well. as we get ready to work our way through the week. There will be some additional content out over the course of the week as well. I pushed some stuff to next week just to let the heat die down a little bit before I bring on different contributors for the next couple of days. But massive thanks again to everyone who supported this channel. Appreciate everyone's opinions and the discourse with this, and we will move on and we'll see where we go tomorrow. Big thanks to Jerry and Paul for joining me tonight. You can check out Paul's details down below. I will talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.
Good night.